Assalamu alaikum. In continuation of my biology lectures about inheritance, last time I talked about DNA because DNA is the material that inherit the features from parents to offspring. Similarly, today I will explain some basic terms about inheritance. So first of all, let me define what is inheritance. Inheritance is the transmission of genetic information from one generation to the next, from parents to the offspring. The transmission of information, transmission of features from parents to the offspring, from one generation to the next generation, this is inheritance. One other inheritance, the concept of inheritance is the general one, like if you Google it on internet, you will find the definition of inheritance, that when the property is being inherited from parents to offspring, that is another concept of inheritance. That is also inheritance. Similarly, we also inherit features, blood group, skin complexion and other body features, etc. from our parents. How? Through DNA. Because the DNA is transmitted from parents to the offspring, and that's how the information, genetic information and the features and the properties are inherited, they are inherited and they are transmitted. So now I will talk about allele and dominant allele and recessive allele. So what is allele? Before that, I would once again I will give the concept, I will revise the concept of gene. So that we studied in the previous lectures, that gene is the segment of the DNA which is controlling and regulating a particular protein, and in return the gene is controlling a particular feature. Now the gene of a particular feature, through mutation it forms different alleles. So the alternate form of the same gene, the alternate form of a gene, that is called allele. And one gene at least has two alleles, two alternate forms. Sometimes it may have more than two forms, 3 or 4 or 5, etc. But one gene, if it has different shades, if it has different varieties with minor differences or less or more differences, so that will be called its allele. So for example, if in a plant, for instance, a gene is controlling the color of the flower, the petals of the color of the petals of the flower, and it is producing red flower. So this is the gene. But maybe its alternate form is producing a different effect. The same species, the same plant and the same the gene, but with minor changing, it will be called its allele. This allele of the same gene will produce blue flower. We observe in different species. For example, in rose, the one rose can be red, the other can be yellow, the other can be white, the other can be dark brown or black rose, etc., 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 pink rose. So all these are the different alleles of the same gene. Similarly here, so one allele, one gene has different forms. Maybe in this case there is one red flower and the other is the blue flower. So these alternate forms of the gene are called alleles. Now the allele can be dominant or allele can be recessive. Now let's understand what is dominant allele. A dominant allele always expresses itself and it suppresses, it masks the effect of the recessive allele. The dominant allele is dominant because whenever it is present, it expresses itself. And if the other allele, because alleles they are present in pair form. There are two alleles in one individual on two chromosomes, so of the same gene. So if the dominant allele, one allele is dominant, so the dominant allele will always express itself. While on the other hand, the recessive allele is that allele which is suppressed by dominant allele. Its effect is suppressed, masked by the dominant allele, and the recessive allele will not express itself in the presence of dominant allele. So there are at least two forms of allele. One is dominant allele, the other is the recessive allele. So the dominant allele, for example, in this case, the dominant allele is producing red flower, and the other alternate form of the same gene, that is the other allele, it is producing the blue flower in the same plant species. But the thing is that the red flower or the red petals, this allele is dominant, and the dominant allele, as it is producing red flower, so we are representing it capital R for red, while the same gene and its other form, its alternate form, that is the allele, the other one is producing the blue flower. The blue flower, however, is recessive. Therefore, the recessive allele of the same gene will be expressed by small letter, small r. Here we will donate, or we will express the r by red flower, because the red flower, red feature is dominant. So we will keep this r red for dominant one, while the blue one will be not represented by B, it will be represented as small r, keeping in mind this letter. Right. Another thing which I would like to explain in this lecture is homozygous. Homo means same. So homozygous dominant means that, as I mentioned, that the alleles are present in pair form on the two chromosomes. If both the alleles of the same gene, both the alleles are dominant in an individual, so that individual will be called homozygous for red flower, and that will be called homozygous dominant, because both of the alleles are dominant. So that will be called homozygous dominant. While on the other hand, if both the alleles are recessive for the same feature, both the alleles of the same gene, if they are recessive, so they will be represented as small r, and that individual will be called homozygous recessive. Homozygous recessive. On the other hand, if the individual is having both the alleles, the dominant allele as well as the recessive allele, the capital R as well as the small r, so that individual will be called heterozygous. Hetero means different, because on one chromosome the dominant allele is present, and on the other chromosome on the same location the allele is recessive allele, so that individual will be heterozygous. So this is, I repeat, homozygous dominant, capital R, and this is homozygous recessive, small r, and this is heterozygous, capital R, small r. One last thing which I would like to explain in my lecture is about the phenotype and the genotype. Here I did not write the definition of phenotype, but I will tell you verbally. Phenotype is the outward appearance of an individual. Whatever we are looking, that is the phenotype. If the height, that is the phenotype. If the skin complexion, if someone is having fair color or brown color or a little bit dark color of the skin, that is its phenotype. Or if a flower is red in color, that is its phenotype. Or if another flower is blue in color or yellow in color or pink in color, that's its phenotype. Outward appearance or the blood group which is being expressed, that is the phenotype. So here the red flower of this plant, this is its phenotype. While on the other hand, the genotype is the genetic makeup of that individual. Genotype is the genetic makeup of that individual, the combination of the genes, the combination of the alleles of a gene, or the different genes or the various alleles, all that makes the genetic makeup, that is the genotype. For instance, this red flower is, if it is having a capital R on both the locations, so that is homozygous dominant, this is its genotype. While on the other hand, this plant is also producing red flower, the phenotype is same here for this red flower and for this red flower, but the difference is that here the genotype is heterozygous. Here on one locus, on one position, on one chromosome, there is dominant allele present, and on the other recessive allele present. That's why it is heterozygous. Capital R, small r. This is genotype. So the genotype can be different from the phenotype. Maybe both the individuals are producing, both the plants are producing red flower, but maybe it is possible that one individual is homozygous dominant and the other is homozygous recessive. While in this case it is homozygous recessive, its genotype is small r on both cases. So these are the some basic terms which we studied here in this lesson, that is, I repeat, about the different forms of genes. They are called alleles: dominant, recessive, homozygous, heterozygous, homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive, etc. So thank you very much, and at last I will request you to subscribe my channel and share it with other students. Thank you.